The University of Detroit Mercy presents another brand new episode of Ask the Professor, the radio show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. Today's program was recorded using Zoom video conferencing technology.
The University Tower chimes, ringing another session of Ask the Professor, the show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. I'm your host, Matt Mayo, and let me introduce to you our panel for today. She's in the upper left of my screen, for what it's worth. Professor Mara Livezey.
Hello.
What's going on?
Oh, so much stuff. I'm like on YouTube's all day, uploading my flipped lectures, publishing them to YouTube, just getting stuff done.
That's pretty sweet. And it's not like you're in the middle of, planning your own wedding or anything.
None of that is also true.
Elope.
And who knows how many feline friends will pass by your camera during our recording session today.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
Hey, Mara, I don't know if I told you, but last summer during COVID, I actually performed my first wedding ceremony. So if you ever need a stand-in.
Hey, that's great to know. We're going to meet the priest tonight. If he's like, nah, I'm not going to do it, I'll call you up.
Dibs.
Oh my gosh.
I would pay money to see that service.
Yeah, right. This is Mara's wedding episode number 2. Let's try this again.
Yeah, where's the director clapboard, right?
I can storyboard it out.
Sweet.
Those, of course, are the dulcet tones of Professor Dave Chow, who's with us today.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
How's it going, Dave?
A little frazzled. I was just telling Mara before we jumped online that I got about 16 hours of sleep the last week.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
I was thinking if you said 16 and you meant the previous day, that would be pretty good.
No, 16 the last week. They're pushing Super Bowl again on me, so.
How are you not having a psychotic break?
Who says I'm not?
I got 6.5 hours sleep last night and felt kind of ooky, hence the nap.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't exist the way, when I was in my 20s, yeah, maybe I could do that or be at a party until 2 a.m. and then get up at 5 and go to work, but not anymore.
I still do it. I don't know why. I don't know how. I'm not going to question it. So
keep the caffeine coming.
Darn right. No, actually, I believe it or not, I do lots of Gatorade on all-nighters. So.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
Gatorade and you're going to laugh. Tic Tacs actually come in handy. Because my mom always taught me that if you have something in your mouth, you're not liable to fall asleep in fear of choking.
Interesting.
I have not found that to be true, actually, but okay.
Someone with a deep interest in the choking reflex, it's Professor Beth Oljar.
Oh,
I like that transition.
Put it quite that way, but okay.
Yikes.
Good to be here.
I'm with you though, Beth. I want to say at some point, not a small child, but maybe like a tween, if you will, I would have been chewing gum and accidentally fell asleep and basically almost choked myself to death. And that had to happen at least once, right?
Yikes.
Well, when I was growing up, the threat was it would end up in your hair. They
Oh.
fell asleep chewing gum. Yeah.
And I have had to get haircut when I was a kid, had to get haircuts because I'd gotten something in my hair. So yeah, that seems more likely.
Got to be real careful about that. We also were joined today by Professor Jim Tubbs.
Hello.
How you doing, Jim?
Good.
Excellent. And
Just watching the storm pass over.
Yeah, I was about to say the trees are eerily not moving outside my window.
Yeah. I think the worst is past me.
Excellent.
I think the brunt of it's gone by.
I hope. We're in the eye of the storm, so.
Exactly. Oh, great. We're just in the eye of the storm. We're joined today by guest panelists, Associate Librarian Kris McLonis. Thanks for joining us today, Kris.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yay, Kris!
We're glad to have you. How are things been?
Well, I am finishing up a block of vacation time. I am, as Matt mentioned, I'm a librarian, and I get roughly the same amount of days off as professors do. It's been surreal. It'll be good to be back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't know what it's going to look like, but damn it, it's going to be good to be back.
Well, and we have to wear masks in the classroom, right? So
The first veil has fallen. Yeah, exactly. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I think a lot of us are anxious to get that energy from young people being around us and being loud, walking through the halls and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
For dang sure. We'll tell you what, folks, this is a program where you can send us questions regarding anything. If you stump the panel, you win a prize. And if you don't stump the panel, you win a prize. You can send the questions to us in a number of ways. You can email us at atp@udmercy.edu. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram, or listen on your favorite smart speaker by asking it to play Ask the Professor at University of Detroit Mercy. So I have a set of questions sent in sort of by anonymous, but it's going to be real obvious who sent them in within the first few words of me reading the intro here. I'm being asked to read the intro as myself. That's sort of a little bit of a tip off here. These are questions about cement and concrete. My grandfather owned a concrete business, so you might say I have it in my veins. My dad has been watching my new home get built and sending out updates to the family. So my mom suggested I make up this set of questions. Don't take any of the questions for granted. Oh, God.
Oh, God. Which kid of
Or
yours
too
is
seriously.
this?
No, these were actually submitted by my dad, who is an expert.
oh, good. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All sorts of interesting things about concrete. Maybe you didn't think your Wednesday afternoon was going to go this way, but here we are. What are
Concrete
the
it
four
is.
main components of modern concrete?
Payment. Oh,
Quartz,
Water.
Water,
Water,
Sand.
lime.
lime.
water, sand, and so
Quartz.
if you say lime, you could mean actually cement as the mineral. Mhm.
And elven magic. No.
Nope, no magic.
Mm,
We have
Rocks.
water, lime or cement,
Pebbles.
and then a fine aggregate or sand, but maybe we also need to add some,
Pebbles.
rocks or coarse aggregate. So all those
Aggregate,
things
okay.
mixed together make modern concrete.
coarse aggregate. Mm.
Coarse aggregate.
sounds so
Man.
sexy.
That sounds like a class Mara should be teaching right about now, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. It
Aggregate.
sounds like some weird form of chemistry we've never heard of.
There you go, Mara.
We
We're coming
really
with titles
need
for your
it.
classes.
We
I'll
need a
think about it.
course in coarse
A
aggregate.
course in coarse aggregates.
Or
Yeah.
Kris, is this an aisle in the library? I mean,
Oh my gosh.
It'll be somewhere in the T's, I think, for technology.
I love it. I love it. So this is one of those ones you may not know, but you'll know in just a few seconds. What's the term that's used to describe how viscous concrete is? Can be thin, can be thick, but they use a very specific word.
Turbidity.
It can describe the process by which they determine it. They put the concrete in a fixed length tube. Then they measure the distance that it takes for it to collapse fully.
like porosity, density.
I've been accused of this because I really don't have, physically speaking, any.
kitty.
What?
There's a kitty.
Sorry.
Oh, so cute.
Distracted by the cat. Sorry.
It's all right.
We're so easily distracted.
So,
okay.
so a brooding teenager will take their seat and then they will do this with their body. What is that called?
Lunch.
Turn
Yeah.
on their cell phone.
It's called slump. Slump. is
Oh,
what they call that
slump.
property, yeah.
I love it.
It sounds like a Dr. Seuss character, doesn't it?
Well, there are benefits to having sort of a more liquidy version and then a more, sort of solid version. So how long does it take in days for modern concrete to harden to its full strength? And just to be clear, not fully harden, but harden to full strength.
3.
48 hours.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
5 days.
I'm going to give this one to Kris. It's 7 days is what it takes to reach full strength. And just so we all know, because it's one of my favorite pieces of trivia, and I hope I'm not scooping later on in the question set here, but the internal concrete of the Hoover Dam will take over 1,000 years to fully harden because it's not exposed to the air. I just
Right.
find that absolutely fascinating. Absolutely Fascinating.
You guys have been to it before, haven't you, Jim?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
I have.
I mean, I have a twisted, morbid fear of heights, and I love that thing.
It is
And
so
now that you know
weird
that
to
it's
go.
not fully hardened, it adds to the thrill, doesn't it?
You should go to this. You should go to the Space Needle, Dave.
Oh yeah, I've been. I love that thing too.
In the Hoover Dam, it's so weird to go all the way down in it where the turbines are, and the whole room is kind of vibrating. And you think about the settling cement in that context.
Yeah. Oh.
And then you run like hell. Is that the next part of it?
You get back on the elevator to go back up.
Oh.
So I guess one of the things that we're supposed to take away from this is that even if it's not fully cured, it can have strength. And that goes literally all the way back to the Roman Empire, because they were pretty big fans of concrete back then.
Oh, what did the Romans ever do for us?
Aqueducts.
I had to say it.
How strong is modern concrete? As in, how many pounds per square inch will it support? It's pretty amazing.
3,000.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you. It's 2,800. 2,800 psi per square inch. That's incredible.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Yep.
And all our civil engineers are busy learning the chemical formulas and everything to mix concrete, right? Wouldn't that be part of their training?
I would say so. Then, they take a whole class called slump, so they better be working on it. That's
For real? That's cool.
No, I'm joking.
And Mara's getting a problem with Mara's getting hassled with her with her course titles.
Come on.
That's just wrong.
Oh, so funny. There are 8 steps for concrete installation. Do you think you could name 4 of them?
4?
Only 4, like no more, no less.
Well, I think boring is probably one.
Kris,
leveling. Let's see, what else could be?
Getting out the air pockets.
You got to lay down the wood.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you
Framing.
I'm going to give you prepping the site, and I'm going to give you forming. So you got 2 for sure.
Okay.
Cutting. Yeah, cut it after.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you finishing is what it's called.
Leveling? Would that be finishing?
Let's think about the extremely ancient tool that's used for that leveling.
Troweling?
Troweling, yes, troweling. Absolutely.
When I also mentioned poor, I was talking about the homeowner that's got to pay for it too. So, trust me, I'm real poor.
Yeah,
So,
this
guy, shot. That's one of them.
What about when they scrape it with that big brush thing?
Mm-hmm. So that is
feathering?
very often referred to as early finishing. Early finishing versus final finishing. So there's lots of different levels.
So they're mid finishing?
No, actually,
Oh, darn.
the one that I think Professor Oljar was referring to was called floating, where they kind of it has the consistency of Jell-O, and they kind of press it to get all the bubbles to raise to the top.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I used to go with my grandfather on site, and that was one of the only things he would let me do is float it, because not many people know. And again, I hope I'm not going too far here, but one of the other main components in the water of modern concrete is hydrochloric acid. So you really should not get that on your skin. It'll hurt sooner or later. So
Really?
Oh. Oops.
please do not eat unset concrete.
Okay, so what about all those Hollywood people that put their handprints and footprints and all that stuff?
Well, the one thing I'll tell you is when you go and buy a bag of Quikrete, which, let's be serious, that's probably what they're doing. There are several idiot-proof ingredients. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
When and where was the first mile of concrete road poured?
6 and 7 mile between 6 and 7 mile on Woodward.
That is exactly correct. Between 6 and 7 mile on Woodward Avenue.
Wow.
First mile of concrete, 1909.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the country. I didn't know it was Detroit specifically. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry, Beth. This is actually anywhere in the world. The marker says that is the first mile of concrete road ever poured on planet Earth.
Really?
So that's a big deal. Yeah. In terms of the full mile. Yes.
Wow.
I'm not sure I've seen the marker. Maybe I have and not registered it.
It's really weird. It's only southbound as you cross 7.
Mhm,
So
yeah.
it's not on the other side on 6 mile, which is a little bit weird. So check it out sometime.
Okay.
Drive this every day. Who, let's see here. What famous person was on the road commission that thought pouring that mile of concrete would be a good idea?
Probably
Henry
somebody
Ford.
named Woodward.
Or Henry
Yes.
Ford?
It was Henry Ford. Yeah, Henry Ford. He knows what's best for between 6 and 7 mile on Woodward. Let's just be serious here, you know. Oh gosh, I knew this question was coming because I had to flip the page here. The way my dad thinks. How much was the bill for the 1 mile both ways of pouring that concrete? Hi, Kitty.
$20.
$100,000.
$1 billion.
We're still paying for it, right?
I was gonna do. No. This actually is mildly affordable considering the size of the project. It was just about $13,000. That's all it cost.
I paid more for that in my driveway. Doggone it.
Well, inflation, consider that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then it's 80 bajillion.
These days, it would be $1 billion.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. What was the country where the first concrete road was poured before Woodward Avenue in 1909, but it wasn't a full mile?
Do we dare go to the Romans again?
You wouldn't be too far off with the Romans, but it wasn't Italy. It was a outer territory of the Roman Empire.
Britain?
Yeah, I'll give it to you, Jim. It was Scotland, is what it says.
Oh.
In the 1860s, they started mixing concrete in with the road aggregate, and of course, after a little bit of rain, it hardens, and everybody gets real happy after that. So,
I think they had other reasons, other ways of getting happy in Scotland too. So,
so
Whiskey.
Or doer, as the case may be.
what is the world's largest single piece of concrete in a structure? Where is that?
Hoover Dam?
It's not Hoover Dam, but I'll tell you this, it's a dam. And maybe if you just tell me it's a dam in a certain country, we'll be good.
The Three Gorges in China.
Three Gorges in China.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yes. He adds a little, snide commentary about American workmanship here. Yes, we've all heard. Apparently it's full of cracks if you go check it out. So it's not doing very well, Three Gorges Dam. What river does the Three Gorges Dam dam?
Yangtze?
Yes, the Yangtze.
That was my guess too.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Who invented Portland cement, and what year was that?
Beth? Come on, you're a Portland gal, aren't you? Oh, no, you're a West Coast gal.
Yeah, I'm not sure which Portland it's referring to.
Oh.
This
Not
person-
macadam, right?
This person named it Portland cement because the finished, polished surface reminded him of stones he had seen on the British island of Portland. So I'm afraid it doesn't have to do with Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon, or anything like that.
Darn.
How about I just tell you, he was a very famous mason of the time, Joseph Aspdin. But what year do you think it was that Portland cement was invented? So this is on our way to having like quick set concrete like we can buy at the store today.
1901.
Yeah.
Way earlier.
Yeah, early 19th century, right? Like in the 1820s or something, 1810s weren't.
Yeah, 1824. Spot on. Yep.
Yep.
1824. There you go. People have been putting fence posts in with Quickcrete as long as we can remember, let me tell you. What famous person built the largest cement plant in the world in 1902 in a little village in New Jersey?
Famous
Edison?
person.
Fat Tony. No.
Famous person.
The only
Rockefeller?
person I know from New Jersey is Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I think you can,
Billy
you can go
Joel.
a little bit deeper than that, Mara.
Hmm.
You know
Whose
of other
daughter
famous
now has a silver medal. So that's pretty cool in the
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. I think that you may be overlooking a relatively famous person who, let's just say, did a lot of business in New Jersey.
Capote. Al Capone.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Rockefeller, Astor.
No, it was your friend and mine, Thomas Edison, actually built that plant in 1902.
Ah.
Yeah,
What?
You said
Yeah.
that, didn't you, Jim?
I did.
Can you say
I'm
Edison?
very sorry,
It was the
Jim.
first thing I said, but everybody was talking at once. So
I apologize. So yeah, do you know, Jim, what he was going to do with that plant? It didn't work out, but it was a cool idea.
Buried Thomas Westinghouse alive?
Or
probably going
Tesla.
to build power plants.
He wanted to make a modern, I'm trying to think of the right word, but everything I was
Tomb?
saying way.
Oh.
He was thinking that houses were going to be made of concrete going forward, and it was a gamble that really didn't pay off. So yeah.
Okay.
Probably while during the Cold War, we might have thought about it, but
Sure. I'm feeling like we could pop one of those down in the Henry Ford next to the Dymaxion house, concrete, aluminum, good ideas, but maybe not. So, where is the oldest concrete that we know that humans actually mix themselves in the world found?
The basement of Briggs. Oh,
Rome. City
yeah,
of Rome.
Rome. Yeah, Rome.
Athens.
It actually is a little bit closer to Athens. It's in Greece. Yep, it's in Greece in a place called Tiryns. So as far as we can date it, 1400 BC, if you can believe it. Kitty.
Wow.
Oh, another cutie.
hello. Mia says hi.
Hi, Mia.
Aw.
Jim, you and I, we need to get cats in order to be on the show. You know that?
Yeah.
What was Roman concrete called in Latin?
Concretus.
Concretum.
I think concretus. has to be
Concretus.
some partial credit. You know what it was, though? I love this. I love this to death. Opus cementium. So that basically means like
Work of cement.
my great work of cement.
Oh my
It
God.
really sounds like Monty Python to me, but
It really
Or
does.
Wile E. Coyote.
But seriously, let's see how well you all know, at least your as we refer to it now, Western history. What characteristic about their mix was so historically important? It gave the Roman Empire a huge technological advantage that allowed them to spread out as far as they did, because that concrete did something very specific. What was it?
It's set quicker than others?
It set in a place where other concretes wouldn't set.
Underwater.
Underwater, yes.
What?
Oh.
So within a couple days, you could be aqueducting. It was like the new version of the suburbs. You could send water out anywhere you wanted. It's a big deal. Big deal. Yep. Okay. What building in Rome has the largest unreinforced dome in the world? If you ever actually look at it, it's got no rebar because, of course, there was no rebar at the
the
time.
Colosseum.
No, it's not the Colosseum. That's a good
Not the
guess.
Pantheon.
Parthenon.
It's
Parthenon.
That's-
the Pantheon. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Pantheon. Parthenon. I knew it was one of those Greek town
Parthenon is in
restaurants.
Greece,
Yeah.
not Rome.
Isn't the Pantheon the one with the eye, like the open at
Oculus.
the top?
Yes.
Yep. And then the sun will pass over. And
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Fascinating being in there when it rains because it's also got sort of gutters around the edge of it on the inside, so the rain just
Really?
flows
Hmm.
down. Yeah. Washes the
Cool.
floor.
Smart.
So here we go. What year was the Pantheon, according to tradition, finished?
Was it 425 or something like that? Let me think.
I can
It
give
was-
you the hint that it was on the positive side, on the Common Era side, not in the before
Yeah.
the Common Era.
Was it Hadrian that built? Let me think. Who built the?
He built the big wall.
No, it was Agrippa, I believe. That's the name on the front.
Jim, you were there. I mean, not when it was built, but you've been there at
I
least.
wasn't paying attention to the year though.
Oh,
Let's see.
Maybe
Uh,
200 AD.
I'm going to give it to you, Kris. It was basically about 128, but it's a
120.
little bit of a trick question because they had actually completed the Pantheon many decades previous, and the dome was made of wood. But of course, it burned completely down, and they said, "Well, let's build a roof that's not going to happen to," and that got them into the world of concrete. Tests have indicated. The last little fact here on this list of, interesting prime number, 19 questions, that there is some concrete in that dome that is still hardening to this day. That is weird,
Wow.
wild stuff.
they're just waiting for the last mortgage payment.
Although, given what you told us about the Hoover Dam, that's actually not very surprising to me now. So,
Exactly. Something about being exposed to oxygen, not just the fact that the water would evaporate, but being exposed to oxygen sort of helps it cure. But again, it can hold its strength even if it's not completely hardened, which is also kind of odd. Okay, Kris, welcome to our crazy circus of weird things. What we usually do to end our show is that we had a listener of ours, Frank Burrows, send us in a set of what he calls, I have to make sure I always get this right, the imponderables. Yes. So we're asked to supply a favorite around the horn here on the panel. And what we've got for today is, what is your favorite source for the daily news?
Ooh.
I'll let you all think and say, I learned to read by reading the Free Press. I love the Free Press to death, just based on the sort of things that it does, but it is a pale comparison to what it used to be. The features page is now only one page long, and there are hardly any features on it. And,
I think I rely on MSNBC primarily. That's
sure.
Yeah, I think either MSNBC or CNN, one or the other.
Okay.
I have kind of two answers.
okay.
NPR, but also every day first thing in the morning, I read this Facebook post by a history professor, Heather Cox Richardson, and she always summarizes the most important pieces of news, and it's great because she can connect it to points in history too, and it's so interesting.
Cool.
Well, I have to confess, these days I get my news from Facebook. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but during the worst of the pandemic last year, CBS was my go-to.
Sure.
I think no, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dave. I saw this morning, by the way, Kris, just as a little heads up, because my wife is a pretty big user of CBS News as well, that former Lions wide receiver Nate Burleson is joining the CBS This Morning crew.
Yep.
So be sure to look out for him. Yeah.
He couldn't let Michael Strahan be the only NFL player. Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly. So
What were you going to say, Dave?
I was going to say NPR just because it's always in the background for me. I can listen to it while still working, as opposed to like reading. So I'm a huge NPR, and then just for my own sanity, I guess if you want to call it that, I also check it with BBC and CBC as well, just to get other countries' takes on what's happening here.
Yeah.
I gotta say that I very, very much enjoy, less so for summer, but the CBC's coverage of the Olympics. It's frankly the only choice when it comes to Winter Olympics, as far as I'm concerned.
Kathy used to say the same thing. She was a big CBC fan for the Olympics.
Yeah. I wish I could pick it up TV-wise here without an antenna, though. I got to get an antenna in order to pick that up.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't know if you know, Matt, but I ditched cable a while back. And CBC, I can't pick it up on a live stream because, I think it's called Gem TV.
Right.
And because I'm out of the country, I can't pick it up, as far as live streaming it. So it is what it is.
How the heck are we going to watch the French language Sesame Street if we can't pick up the CBC? I mean, seriously. Unbelievable.
I love my CBC, so.
Well, I think we had a pretty good array of news sources, a number of news sources that weren't mentioned at all. And, we'll deal with those in the future when they have to go to court to prove things.
What you mean, like idle gossip and yelling at one another?
Exactly. Profs, I'm looking at the time here. I'm so sorry. The time has come for us to say goodbye. So I'll start with Jim.
Goodbye.
Beth.
Farewell.
Dave.
See ya.
Mara.
Good to see you. See you later.
And Kris.
Farewell. See you all soon.
And now these words from University of Detroit Mercy. Ask the Professor is transcribed in, all of our homes, but usually it's in the Briggs Building in the Department of Communication Studies in the College of Liberal Arts and Education at University of Detroit Mercy's McNichols campus. Ask the Professor is produced and technically directed by Michael Jason and Brian Masonville, and our executive producer is Professor Jason Roach. Until next week, I'm your host, Matt Mayo.